Hiya guys, Nigel here with you on a Sunday afternoon, evening, and I've got a bit of a test for you again today, a bit of a trial of a product I've got from Premium Hobbies, and this time we're going to be looking at the fairly new Modeller's World Anti-UV Varnish Premium, and they're available in a gloss, matte and a semi-matte there. Many advantages with these. They are an acrylic, so you can put your oil washes over them and everything, which I showed you before. They come in these nifty little bottles. They are actually, what size are they? 30 millilitres. I think they cost about $4.50, I think, from memory. But they've also got this little dropper in them, which is really handy. This is something that Alclad could do with their aqua gloss, if you're listening, because pouring the Alclad out with these acrylic lacquers, when you actually remove the lid and you pour them out into your airbrush, you end up with a sort of scaly sort of lumps around the edge, and you've always, when you pour them out, you've always got a risk of the edges, you know, the hard lumps always coming off into your airbrush. The other thing you can do, of course, is use a pipette, but you know, if you're going to use one of these and throw it away, you're putting plastic in the waste recycling. So it's, you know, great that they've got these little pipette type bottles and that, and you can reuse them and everything. Awesome. In fact, what we could do is when we're finished with this, we could put our aqua gloss in these bottles. Yay, there we go. So anyway, I digress. So as I say, we've got the gloss, we've got the matte, and we've got the semi-matte, and we're going to try all three of them in this video. Now, I've had these for about a week, but I haven't tried them yet because I wanted to wait for the Modeller's World Acrylic Doctor Thinner to turn up, which is what Modeller's World recommend you thin them with. So, as you know, I've already done a test with that. I did this little test over here I showed you last week. Was it this one? No, that was this one, wasn't it? It was with the B52 wing, sorry. This was the testing the lacquers and thinners and stuff against how these all work. It would appear that the most resilient to anything is the MRP, but as you can see, out of all of them, it's the least shiny. It is quite thin. It is a fairly hot lacquer, so it tends to eat into what's under there, you know, so you need to get more on there. And if you're doing something with really fine riveting, like a Tamiya Spitfire or something like that, then you don't really want to be putting loads of clear down because you're going to eradicate all your details. So, you know, you sort of pays your money, takes your choice, really. Anyway, that's a separate issue. I did get a comment on this. Somebody said, you're mixing chemicals. Yes, chemicals are chemicals, and that's what I'm doing. So if you're watching this, I don't know if you want to add to that, because I really don't know what you mean. Anyway, so what I am going to do, just as a test with the flat, I've learnt from followers like James Mower and that basically the Mr. Colour Rapid Thinners does tend to help with flat. Okay, so for instance, the Tamiya flat varnish isn't dead flat, but if you mix it with this, it does go a lot flatter than it does with any other thinner. So I'm going to try mixing some of this with that and see what happens, see if it makes it go more flat. So we're going to test it on here. Now, the only trial I've done is this bit here that I've sprayed with Model World's gloss. Okay, and I did that straight out of the airbrush, and I just wanted to try it and see what it's like. It is a little bit thick for airbrushing with a 0.3 needle. Today I'm going to use my Bart Sharp with a 0.5 needle in it. So we'll see how it sprays neat, and then we'll add some thinners and see if we can get a better finish. Because one of the issues you'll always see with a paint or anything you're using that's too thick, you will get a kind of orange peely effect. Now, I'm not sure if this stuff will level out or if it will just remain orange peely. Today we will find that out. So what I'm going to do is use this side of the wing, which is basically it needs really to be cleaned off and start with something new, doesn't it? But we can basically go over here. This is just all basically Tamiya or Viejo, whatever paint on here. You can see I've done a test here with Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners and X20A in two different clears. I'm not sure which they were. I've got a feeling they were the Tamiya matte, just trying to see how matte, or semi-gloss actually, just to see how they would come out. But anyway, we've basically got acrylic paints on there. We can go over them with acrylic paints or acrylic lacquers, and we'll see how they come out, or acrylic clear coat, should I say. So let's start with the gloss. So this one is the gloss, and we're going to start off by putting it in our Bart Sharp airbrush. I've got the small cup on there, and this is going to need a shake. I'm going to start with neat with no thinners and then see if we can get it better. And I'm looking in the bottom of the bottle there, and when I turn it up, all I can see is bubbles. So we've got nothing actually gelling on the bottom. And the other thing you must remember, guys, when you do shake it, squirt out what's in the pipette pick up some Mew and squeeze it out, because obviously what was in the pipette will not be mixed. You can see you've got loads of bubbles in there where I've shaken it all so much. But basically what was in the pipette will not be mixed. So make sure that you squeeze it out. So what I'm going to do is put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drops in there. Okay, so we're going to put this over here. 6 drops is next to nothing, but we're only doing a test to see how well it goes. Now the other beauty of this stuff, it does have a disadvantage as well. It's not all good. The other beauty of this stuff is the odour. It doesn't smell at all. So I mean, I put my nose to the airbrush, I can smell pretty much nothing. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start up here where it's all matte and dull. So we'll see how well it goes down. And you can see it's going down, but it's quite orange peely. And because it's a 0.5 needle, it's going down quite heavily. Okay, so we can see there, it's going down quite nice, but it's very heavy because of the 0.5 needle. And as you can see, the finish we've got is not the best. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try thinning it. So we'll get some of the, in fact what I'll do is put some more, I'll blow out what's in there. Okay, so that's empty now, there's nothing, well there is something coming out. It's pretty much empty. Okay, so we'll get the gloss varnish. And this time we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4 drops of that. Now this pipette is bigger, I think, so like one of these drops is going to be like 2 of the others. We shall see. So let's see how big these drops are. Oh no, they're about the same. So we'll go 1, 2. Okay, so that should be roughly 50% thinners. And what I'm going to do is blow back through the airbrush. So let's see how it goes down. Now, bear in mind, guys, this is a 0.5 needle, so it's going to be quite heavy. So I'm just going to spray this down, and it is a lot easier to control, I can tell you from the start. It is a lot easier to control. But it's not going down very nicely, and I've got a feeling I may have something on this wing. Let me try it on this side, just see if I get a different kind of finish. It's going down quite heavy. I don't like the finish at all. I'll tell you what to do. I'm going to start this again, but with the B52 wing that's got the paint on from before, because I think I may have got some grease or something on there. I don't like the way this is going down. It looks like it's got contamination on there. Okay, so we've changed the wing. Just looking at this again, and I remember actually I did this test, didn't I, with oils and stuff on here. So obviously it's still got those on there. It's got into the clears and it's affecting the finish. So I've basically got this out again. I sprayed it with the 0.5 needle in the Bart Sharp airbrush. I think the 0.5 needle is too big for this, for getting a finish. It's great for putting down a thicker paint like your, you know, like your Stoner Res or something, or some, you know, some really heavy paint, you want to get it down. But it's, I don't think it's appropriate for this, because it just sort of plasters it on, and what you're trying to get here is to build up a gloss finish. So I've gone back to my Iwata with the 0.3 needle. So what we'll do is we will take some of this and we will go back to the start, and we will 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'll just put 4 drops in there. And then you can see that we can lay it down now, and this is straight out of the bottle, and it does spray. You can see it's quite dry the way it's going down. It's quite grainy, and I'm almost at the point where I'm having to go back, and I'm tempted, I'm going to flood it, so I don't want to do that if I can help it. But it's certainly going down very nice, and it does seem to spray absolutely fine with a 0.3 needle with no thinning. Okay, so just blow that out. Right, and then what I do is going to go 1, 2, 3 drops of this, and then 1 drop of the acrylic Doctor, because I think 50% is too much. So that should be like 25% thinners in there. It seems as though it's kind of just too thick to get down nicely with the airbrush, the 0.3 needle, but it's like it's 50% thinners is too much. So we shall see now how it goes down a bit further up here, and straight away you can see it's coming out a lot easier, and I'm pulling back a lot less on the trigger, and yeah, so it's going down beautifully. Alright, ignore the dusty finish and everything, that's just because it's not prepared, but you can see straight away that we've got this much nicer gloss finish there than we have here. We've got more of a rough finish on there. Now as you'll notice, as we come back, as it dries back, it tends to matte off, okay? But something I noticed when I did this, as it dries it gets its gloss back. So what I'm going to do is just do another quick coat over this one, so it's got 2 coats. It's literally 3 minutes after I put the first one down. In fact, it's real time, I haven't turned the camera off, so okay, we'll go over that as well. We run out now. So you can see here we've got 2 coats and there's 1 coat there. But remember, it's gone dull. What will happen is it will come back. So we'll just blow that out, and then I'll put some acrylic Doctor thinner through the airbrush. Just put a couple of drops in like that. Blow it back. I'll give it a little wash round with a cotton bud, just to make sure it's all nice and clean, and then just blow it through. Okay, and that will do us for that one. Right, so if we take the semi-matte, we can see we've got some build up in the bottom of there. You can see there's some stuff. So we'll give it a good shake and make sure all that stuff disappears. Okay, and then what we're going to do is put this in. Again, we're going to make sure the pipette has been emptied and refilled a couple of times, because it will probably be full of unmixed paint or unmixed clear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drops of that. Try it neat. Again, this is the semi-matte. So we go over here, and that is spraying a lot nicer. That's really nice straight out of the bottle. That is going down lovely. So just leave that a couple of minutes just to wear off. Again, ignore the finish and the dust and everything. It's unprepared. There's dust in the paint below it and everything. But the object here isn't to show you how we get a perfect finish by doing certain things. This is seeing how it actually sprays and how it looks when it dries out. So give that another coat now, so it's wet on wet. There we go. You can see that's, because it's wet on wet, it's quite glossy. Okay, so you can see that's glossy. So we'll see how that dries down in a minute. Alright, that's been like literally 3 minutes. You can see it's flattening down, but we shall see how it dries. And as I said, the gloss is weird. It goes dull and then the gloss comes back when it dries. It's really weird. I've never seen a clear coat do that before. But here we go. So giving this a good shake, making sure there's no scum in the bottom. This is the matte, isn't it? Yes, I've picked up the right one. Again, mixing this in the pipette, making sure we've got well mixed paint in there, if you like. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of that. Again, we'll see how this sprays straight out of the bottle. I have actually put some of the Modeller's World acrylic Doctor through the airbrush to give it a clean. Just blow back, make sure there's nothing sitting in the tube, or in the needle should I say. And then we're just going to lay this down to see how it sprays directly out of the pot. Let's hold this up here, there we go. Okay, so, and this is by far the nicest. This is spraying absolutely beautifully. That's going down lovely. You can see I'm putting it on quite heavy, purely because I want to see how it reacts. If you go really fine, if I do up here, if you go really fine, you can often get a better flat finish. Just go really fine without letting it build up. If you go like this, you see just a very thin coat will normally give you a very good flat finish. And you can see that's flatter than that straight away, but if I dry this back, it should start to flatten out. And it is flattening out beautifully, even though it's on heavy. Now most flat varnishes, if you do that, it won't flatten back. You know, it's even puddled there on that line there. But it is flatting back. That is very flat. Thoroughly recommended, guys. Brilliant stuff. Very difficult to find. The only varnish I've got, and you know what I'm going to show you now, the only varnish I've got that actually is purely dead flat is this one. This is the AK Ultra Matte Varnish, and it is very flat. It's flatter than a flat thing on a flat day in a flat field. Downside to it, it's not very tough, so we'll see what this is like. Unfortunately, it takes 24 hours to dry, so I'll have to show you in another video what it's like. That is the downside to this stuff. They recommend 24 hours drying time, which can be a bit of a bind for you if you want to get on with your model, but you know, it's not the end of the day. But as you can see, this gloss here that all went dull, you can see it coming back glossy. It's really weird. The semi-gloss here it's a very nice semi-gloss. It's semi-matte, it's not semi-gloss, which is what they actually call it, and it is very nice indeed. If I just dry back those damp patches there which are still shiny, this is where it's gone down very thin. It's a bit sticky to the touch. That's still very sticky to the touch, but you can see even before it dries, there's an area in here. Okay, there's an area there. Let me get a pen. Sharpie. Where's my Sharpie gone? Stolen my Sharpie. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll mark a demarcation. That's where the flat is there. There, okay. So that's gloss, that's semi-matte, and that's matte. Okay, and then that there is matte as well. And what I'm going to do here is matte and rapid thinners. Okay, so in a minute what we'll do is go on there. Now the trouble is that that's already matte, but we can see, we'll be able to compare next to it. So I've still got a drop in there. I'm going to put another couple of drops of the matte in, and then I'm going to see what it's like. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to put a tiny drop of the rapid thinners in it. It's all on camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing. There's no cheating going on, there's no fixing of anything. Okay, there's 2 tiny little drops in there. Lid back on. Straight away it stinks. That's the trouble. You see, now I am in a dangerous position of spraying solvents with no breathing gear or whatever. So I'm just going to blow that back through again, make sure it mixes. There we go. Right, so, and you can see I'm laying this down low. You can hardly see it, lay it down slow, so you can hardly see it going down. Now, one of the things I do know, one of the downsides with this, as I said, it's 24 hours drying time. The rapid thinners might reduce that. So what I'll do is just over here, I'll do a heavy patch. You can see that's putting it on way too heavy, so we'll see if that dries back matte. Here I'm playing it just a little bit too heavy, not going very fine, but we'll see if the rapid thinners makes it go back matte. And we will grab our Sharpie, which I didn't put away, and we'll mark that there and there, and we know that's heavy. Okay. If I ever build this bloody B-52, it's going to look a right mess. Anyway, so you can see here this is very matte. If I blow it back, even after it's gone down heavy, look, it still goes back matte, which is Very, very good. Guys, if you're just going to buy one bottle of this stuff, get the mat. It's incredible. It's really, you can see it there. It has no sheen to it whatsoever. It's totally and utterly dead. Now, I've been working on this over here. This is my Spitfire that I've been working on. Remember you saw me do the underside. I did the underside with the pre-shading. And I've done the top with the camouflage and everything. I've given it a bit of a rub. So now I'm going to do another effect on here with some new products I've got, do some weathering on it, and then I'll give it a clear coat. So I think what I'll do is probably use the gloss on this, and then when all the decals are done and everything, I'll definitely finish it off with a flat, so we'll see how that looks. But when you compare this is Tamiya flat paint, okay? And as we all know, that is dead flat. And when we compare it to this, you can see just they compare in flatness. They are brilliant. So really, really pleased with that. So the upsides to it, basically pipette in the bottle, easy storage, nice little bottle to store, and it does seem to actually go a long way as well. Now the downside to it, it does say it takes 24 hours to dry, and as you can see here, this is still going to be, you know, I can still put fingerprints in it. It does take a while to dry, but once it does dry, you've got this lovely, let's say it's lovely now because it's had all sorts of things put on it, but you do get a nice gloss finish, certainly good enough for decals. Somebody did ask about model cars and stuff. If you're doing cars, I would definitely sort of think about getting your 2K clears rather than using anything like this. You can certainly do it and you can get a gloss finish, but you know, I would recommend your 2K clears. And if, like somebody said, you think it's too shiny, just take it back with some 2000 or 3000 and then polish it back up with some compound. We have the same problem with the classic cars. You take something like an old Morris 1000 or an old Riley or something, you spray it in a lovely 2-pack red and it's just too shiny. It looks terrible. So you need to knock it back, unless it's a custom car, because remember in the old days cars were always sprayed with cellulose. And the difference is, in case you don't know, 2-packs dry from the outside in. So basically a 2-pack paint will form a skin that's glossy, extremely resistant and very hard, and then dry in. Cellulose dries from the inside out. So the slightest imperfection, the slightest scratch or whatever, it will dry into that and then dry in, and as it comes up, and that's why it shows up. So that's why you've noticed if you put a heavy coat of 2-pack down or a Halford's acrylic paint, you can hide a lot of sins. That's because it's drying from the outside in. Whereas if you use like a cellulose or a Tamiya paint mixed with some hot thinners, it will always show those marks back up. So there you go, you've learned something today if you didn't already know. But they are still, the semi-gloss or the semi-matte is still a bit sticky. The matte there, actually, to be fair, feels, this one is still sticky, but this one feels quite dry. And I don't think the rapid thinners has made a lot of difference to it. So it's obviously the chemicals itself in this that are taking time to rinse off and dry. But there you go. Thoroughly recommended. So as I started saying, downside is it's long time drying. The plus sides is obviously the dispensers and the and everything. The other thing that's beautiful about this is it doesn't smell. Now, other than rapid thinners, I can't smell anything at all. Now, whether you think that's a good thing or not, it's the way you look at it. It's like if we suddenly made a gas, I think we do actually, if we made a gas that has no aroma, okay, you could walk into a room and light a cigarette or something and boom, because you haven't smelt the aroma. So therefore, you know, a gas that smells is more toxic than a gas that doesn't smell, or is it? You know, and it's the same with the paints. You still need to use your extractor, you still need to use your breathing gear, because you're still putting atomized chemicals in the air and you really don't want to be breathing them in. I'm doing this for you guys because I'm prepared to risk my life for you. But basically, I can smell nothing. So because you can't smell anything, it makes it maybe a little bit more dangerous, one might say. But the beauty of that is you're not stinking the house out. So you can sit in your modelling room with your mask on and your extractor going with the window open, and you can spray to your heart's content. Then when you've finished, you can turn everything off, leave the room, shut the door, and you haven't stunk the house out. Whereas if you're using this, it goes right through the house. No matter what extraction you've got, no matter if you've got a window open or whatever, as it's drying, it's going to give off the smells. This doesn't smell at all. Even when I've used the rapid thinners is probably all evaporated and there's I cannot smell anything on there at all. Nothing. So that's the beauty of it. Okay. So again, get it for Premium Hobbies. I think it's $4.50 a bottle. Don't forget to use the code NMB10, Nigel's Modelling Bench 10, and treat yourself. You know, you could probably get away with having this on its own without this acrylic doctor. And as you saw, I used the Mr. Colour Rapid Thinners, and it thinned it fine. And it went down, and it hasn't clogged the airbrush or anything. So, I mean, there it is there, still with the Rapid Thinners in it, and it'll still spray. Yep, it'll still spray really fine. It hasn't even dried around the needle. It is absolutely fine. So, if you don't want to buy this because you generally use lacquers, because this will be no good for thinning lacquers, then just use your Rapid Thinners. But again, you've got the smell problem again. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. And as I say, what I'll do is I'll show you this in another video. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to do it, but I've done it. This is like 20 hours later now, 22 hours later, something like that. And as you can see, it's dry. It's good enough for putting decals on. If it's your final gloss coat for a finish or something, I'd be tempted to leave it for like 48, even 72 hours, because it still doesn't feel hard. You know, it's got that sort of slightly sticky feeling to it. I can't put a fingerprint. I can leave a greasy thumb mark on there, but I can't actually put a finger mark on there. But if I held it for a while, you know, it's probably very much like Mr. Hobby Aqueous. You know, if you've put that on, if you've used the gloss versions of that, you'll know it takes quite a long time to dry. But anyway, you can see that it's come back with this lovely glossy finish. If you remember, I piled it on, and it's sort of all levelled out and everything. And yeah, it's very nice stuff indeed. As I say, it's fantastic. It sprays beautifully. It doesn't smell at all. The thinners doesn't smell at all if you use the Modeller's World thinners. But it takes longer to dry than the likes of Aqua Gloss and stuff. But I think it gives a better finish for less coats. So, you know, if you have got, like I said earlier, a Tamiya Spitfire or something with some very fine rivet detail in it, you might be better off using this because you need less of it, and you're less likely to lose any detail. If you've got something like an Airfix, you know, with great big huge pan lines and stuff, then maybe just use your you know, what you already use now. But anyway, this stuff is really, really nice. Now the semi-matte has got a very, very slight sheen to it. You can just sort of make it out there, but it's gone off obviously drier than that because it's matte, or it's got matte properties. But yeah, very, very hard wearing, very tough. Again, like this one, very tough. Scratched it with a nail, it's not scratching it off. But that one, if you remember, that one was just neat out of the jar. We didn't thin it at all. And then we got this one here. So this is the matte, which was put down heavily, wouldn't it? And this was the matte which was put down thin, or vice versa, I can't remember. But they've both dried the same, and that's absolutely fine. But as you can see, they've dried with a very, very slight sheen. You can see the reflectivity on the light in there. So, but this one, where we used the Mr. Colour Rapid Thinners to thin it, it is very much matte. So if you, and that was heavy with the Rapid Thinners, and this was just putting it down lightly. Now, as we all know, or you may not know, if you want to get a real nice matte finish, you put it down very, very lightly, just dust it on, and it will help you get that matte finish. So I don't think it's as dead flat, as dead matte as this one. Okay, this is the AK Ultra Matte Varnish I talked about earlier, but I think it's tougher. In fact, yes, it is. It's definitely tougher than this one. So, you know, as a matte varnish, it's bloody awesome. Really, really good stuff. So even as a matte varnish on its own, it's not dead flat, but you can see that it's very matte. I mean, that is, I think it's more matte on that one than it is on that one. So, yeah. So if you want a dead flat finish that's hard wearing, the matte one, thinned down with the Mr. Colour Rapid Thinners, is awesome. It's hard wearing and it's dead flat. Only downside, as I say, it takes, well, this is dry now, and that's been, like I say, 22 hours. So there we go. That's been the test of these 3 products, and very happy with them indeed. I'm sorry if the video's been a bit bitty and a bit all over the place. As you can see, I had some problems at the start, but I like to show you when I do get problems. And the problems I had on here, I think, was the 0.5 needle was put down too heavy, and also I'd forgotten that I'd been covering this in odorless thinners. This one, I'd been covering it in that, and you ain't going to get anything to stick over that unless it's enamel paint. But the acrylic, it was just sort of beading up, as you know. But as you can see, it's dried out. It's dried out absolutely fine. So you can see the gloss on there. But you can see it's got the marks in it. It's quite an interesting finish actually. But it's got the marks in it from where the oils were. So if you do want to get that sort of distempered, sort of horrible finish, I'll say an old truck or something, you know, dab some thinners on there first and then spray it, and you'll get that sort of finish. So there we are. Anyway, I've waffled enough. That's the products. Get on over to Premium Hobbies. Don't forget, if you want to get some, code NMB10 and you'll get your 10% discount off. If you only buy one of these, I would recommend the matte. But the semi-matte is proper semi-matte, not like a lot of the products out there that are like almost like gloss. They're so glossy, it's untrue. But that would be like a lovely finish for like a modern, like a Vulcan or something like that. It's just, you know, because you don't want it dead flat, but you do want that sort of something to it. So lovely. See you all soon, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.